Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Let us sit for meditation, coming into a position, a posture suitable for the practice. The back supported, the posture firm and steady. As we guide our attention towards the observation of the element, guiding one's attention towards the breath. To observe the in-breath and out-breath, noting the rising, ceasing breath that occurs moment to moment, the involuntary breath, noting the in-breath and out-breath as we guide our attention away from the environment around us and directing one's undivided attention towards observing the touch of the air element at the body beat, letting go of all else. View, need, want, letting go of even the Dhamma, and a loving observation over the breath, to be the only object that arises within the mind. Having dealt with the external world, this time of practice is concerning the internal, not the external. May this moment be enriching towards our journey to Nibbana, to experience the deathless, the destruction of all suffering, the ending of the rounds of rebirth, stilling ourselves within this moment, letting go of the past and the future, and being in the present. Gently guiding your attention to note the arising in breath and out breath, letting go of control as you still yourself within this moment, being here with the breath. as we come in to experience the present breath, the arising, the ceasing, in breath and out breath, as it occurs. The senses calming, the body calming, the mind becoming calmer and more tranquil as we continue to let go, to ease into the present, away from the samadhi into the paramattha, away from convention into reality, letting go of all else, letting go of all ceasing pleasure, ceasing pain, as we come to be in the present with a sense of Virya, as we balance the indriya, the faculties. Let us direct our attention to observing the element, gently, as you observe the breath. Observing the pushing nature of the air element, noting the air element through its characteristic of pushing, experience at the tip of the nostril, observe the nature of all materiality through this very moment by observing the quality of air element through the breath. Observe, observe. Observe the nature of pushing that may be experienced with each breath. Observing gently as we direct our attention to observe hardness the hardness that is experienced through touch of the air element at the tip of the nostril. You may also experience a sense of hardness, a subtle hardness, yet hardness. Observing moment by moment, gently observe. Observe hardness all throughout the body. the hardness found as the teeth push against one another. Observe without judgment as you let go of gross attachment and clinging, and direct one's attention through the three-rooted mind to this moment, this present moment, having let go of the past and the future. We observe the genuine quality of the element, pushing hardness. Observe from hardness. Let us shift our attention to observe roughness. Observe to observe roughness. Gently rubbing the tongue over the edge of the teeth. You will experience the nature of hardness, roughness. Gently brushing the hand over clothing. You will experience roughness. Once you have a sign of roughness, spread your awareness across the whole body to observe roughness all across. This nature of the earth element. Observe, observe, observe. from mindfulness to observing the heaviness, the nature of heaviness. You may observe the heaviness by observing the weight, the heaviness of the hands resting against the legs, the lap, the heaviness as the weight of the body is felt on the cushion or chair one is seated on. Observe the heaviness all throughout the body. All through. Moment to moment. Observe, but do not cling. Find balance in knowing that all arises and ceases, impermanent. Observing this nature of heaviness, the earth element, all throughout the body, systematically. Observe, observe. As you observe heaviness, let us shift our attention to observing the supporting nature. The supporting nature can be observed as a quality of the air element, the nature of support in the body to maintaining posture, moving, sitting. The air element supports the body to maintain posture and movement. You may observe this by relaxing your back, to bend your body forward slightly, to observe this nature of supporting. In varying degree, one will experience supporting all across the body. Observe, observe. from supporting. Let us guide our attention to observing softness. Pressing your tongue against the inside of the lower lip. To experience soft texture, noting softness, soft, soft. Observe, observe. As you observe smoothness, shifting one's attention to observe lightness. Gently observing lightness across the whole body. Gently, gently, lightness, lightness. Lightness to observing the fire element by first observing heat, warmth all across the body. Observe, observe. As you observe heat, let us gently guide our attention to observe the cold. Across the body. You may begin to discern cold by observing the coldness of the breath as it enters nostril. Gently, gently observe. Observe. Guiding your attention to now observe the nature of cohesion to be aware of how the body is held together by skin, flesh, sinews. The whole body, all elements held together through this nature of cohesion, down to the smallest kalapa. Cohesion is present. Observe this nature. Observe. guiding your attention to now discern the nature of flowing. The water element all across the body, just like the saliva flowing in the mouth, blood flowing through the veins, air flowing into the lung, heat flowing throughout your body. Gently observe this nature, moment to moment. Observe. Gently Let us weed through the elements and the qualities of the element to observe hardness, roughness, moment to moment, letting go of all else, simply observe heaviness, softness, smoothness, lightness, flowing, cohesion, heat, cold, supporting, pushing, hardness, roughness, heaviness, softness, smoothness, lightness, flowing, cohesion, heat, coldness, supporting, pushing, observing the nature of impermanence, the nature of change, the condition, each phenomena, condition with its own intrinsic phenomena, the element arising and ceasing all across the body, condition, 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 the practice, bringing new strength to the faculty of wisdom, in seeing the nature of materiality. The element unfolding, arising, ceasing. The nature of non-self, apparent with every condition, Dhamma that arises and ceases. Gently, gently, recollecting the aspects of the meditation practice. Acknowledging the peace and tranquility of the moment as we let go of the past and future. The quality of samadhi, the strength or weakness of the hindrances, the power and balance of the faculty. Gently, gently, with acceptance, guiding one's attention toward the external environment, being aware and present with gratitude and loving kindness towards the mind and body. This moment, this very experience of the present. the ability, the Dhamma, towards the noble triple gem. As we guide our attention with loving kindness and wise attention, gently, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. All right. So after, I think, a good amount of time, I thought that it would be appropriate for us to, after all the anapana that we have been practicing, to remind ourselves as well at the same time and see how with our anapana focus that we have been cultivating, we would do again with the elements, the 12-fold technique of observing the 4 elements in the body. So, how was your experience? How were you able to experience the 12 parts of the 4 elements? If anyone would like to go ahead and share their experiences, and also if there are questions that came to mind with regards to your meditation in observing the different parts of the 12-fold technique. Oh, Sujata.
Bhante, may I ask a question, please? Other than the meditation session, what is it to be mindlessness? We're focusing on mindfulness.
Mhm.
What's it? Because
So,
I read something to that effect. To be mindless, then the negative thoughts go away.
mhm,
To that effect. And now when we concentrate, actually, Bhante, we try to be mindful. Then what I got to understand was, other than your lovely explanation, reading something really, that he says, that author had been says that if you're meditating mindfully, you have to be mindless.
mhm.
Does it have any effect on what we do now? Bhante, please?
In the effect of decluttering the mind?
Yes, because actually our minds are full of negative stuff all the time, all the time. Today, actually, I tell you just one of my experiences, Bhante. My mind was awful. But for the last 2 or 3 days, I thought I must make up my mind. So today,
Mhm,
I didn't even have my lunch. I thought that makes you full. So I came on a fairly empty tummy, and I thought I must concentrate. And I did. I must tell you, I did, Bhante. Thank you very much. And these thoughts came to my mind again.
Hmm. What kind of thoughts?
That's a negative thing started coming. Then
Hmm.
I thought, well, I must forget that and get mindless. So I waited with a blank mind, I think, for a while.
Hmm.
Then my whole body
Hmm.
actually started paining my neck. Then to see what? I had kept the window ajar for a while and the
Hmm.
breeze came in, I think.
Hmm.
That's after 1 hour. Then I got up from my slumber, I think it was. And then again I sat down. Then I put a scarf around my neck. I was feeling better and I closed the window really.
Hmm.
These are the things I've experienced today, Bhante. I don't know whether I'm right or wrong, but these exactly how I felt.
Hmm. Well, Sujata, I think even um, acknowledging their existence and acknowledging the fact that these negative thoughts do appear is a
Yeah,
first or is a step in its own to sort of overcome them. Mm?
yeah,
And it is always a journey, but what is important is that you have resolve, and when you want to make the effort to be able to know and understand how
yes,
do I do this? How do I do this? And in order for you to understand how you could do it, Sujata,
yes,
you
Bhante.
have to experience and allow yourself to go through those um, that journey,
Mm,
that time of growth. Mm. So you're making good efforts, you said. You
yes, I think so, Bhante.
not eating so much to avoid drowsiness in the practice, which is very good, which is
Yeah,
which is a very good thing to say that you want to make the effort into trying to get a handle over the meditation.
mm,
Now, if we remind ourselves, meditation or time of meditation, we do not try to control. Hmm?
mm,
So, for example, even if, let us say, a negative thought is to arise and
yes,
you want this thought to go away from whence it came,
mm,
that is control. Hmm?
yeah,
Control usually is a form of attachment.
yes,
So, it is a form of attachment, loba. Hence,
mm-hmm,
you could easily overcome this, Sujata, just like any other person who would come across a situation of this sort
mm,
by engaging with the negative thought with yonso manasikara, right attention,
yes, that's right.
right attention. And how can one give right attention out of all the ways that we can take an object, out of all the ways that we can cognize an object, out of all the many chittas that can come into the moment to take an object? What are or what is within the practice or training for us to cultivate in terms of how we take object, how perception would occur? The only
Mm,
perception that we allow to happen during our time of contemplation and practice, culminating in a path, culminating
mm,
in Nibbana,
yeah,
four perceptions, Sujata.
yeah,
Anicca,
mm,
Dukkha,
another,
Anatta, Asubha.
mm,
Asubha.
yeah.
Uh,
Oh,
when a negative thought arises, for whatever reason that you may even intend to call it a negative thought, right?
yes, mm,
Whatever that negativity that was an image or vision that that thought manifested, right? It was seen as negative because the mind involved itself with that object in a
mm,
negative manner.
yeah,
When you then realize this, which you have, now try to see how you could change that approach with a altered perception, which is down to the Dhamma perception, which should be perceptions rooted in the essence of knowing the object as impermanent, knowing
yes,
this object is suffering, knowing that this object is inherently anatta.
Yes.
Hmm.
I was
Anatta.
thinking about it, Bante.
And
Yes.
then whatever beauty or whatever lack of beauty that there might be. Now, beauty or lack of beauty. Yam kisi deyak, something can be to our liking or not to our liking.
Yes.
All that is wholly, it is like vanity, isn't it? Vanity of
Vanity. Thank
requirement.
you. Mm. Yeah.
Vanity of requirement. Both those sections of something that is pleasant to us or something that is unpleasant to us, both
Yes.
of them are asubha. Dekam
Subhenimite.
asubha. Dekam asubha.
Right.
In that way, or now that is what the Buddha says, Sujata.
Yes,
Now,
Bante.
now you keep that teaching in mind, and then in your practice, right?
Yeah.
You see how can I, when these disruptions, disturbances, emotions, proliferating thought arise in the mind, then having this four perceptions at
Mm.
heart, allow that to sort of mold your journey forward. Mm?
Yes, Bante.
Mold your journey forward. Now, the investigation and the walking of that path is, Sujata, entirely with you.
With me, left to me. I තේරෙනවා Bante.
මම මේක
හඳුරන්නේ.
කරනවා දැන් මෙන්න මේ ධර්මයත් එකතු කරාගෙන එතකොට those negative thoughts, you're not afraid of negative thoughts
Mm.
because you realize, sometimes when negative thoughts do sometimes pop up and you become afraid, oh my gosh, would this arise again? Would this become now a hindrance to me? When you're anxious about this thought arising, remember it is always control. Why is this control occurring in me? You will realize the control is there is because the mind previously clung on to an ideal vision of this moment. An ideal vision of this moment. Maybe, just like, for example, it is in our nature that when we are looking forward to something, for example, maybe every Sunday morning when you get up, you are reminded of the fact that you're coming to this, yeah,
It is.
session,
Yeah.
and
Yes.
so you plan out your day or whatnot, and it is very easy for a mind to then plan it out, isn't it? To have a vision of what it might be. Mm? Have a
Yes.
vision of what it might be. Now, when that clinging occurs, now there is control which has to be there in order to maneuver the expectation forward. Hmm? In the dropping of those expectations, that is where we say letting go of the past and the future. In the dropping of those expectations,
Mm.
we arrive at a more calm and subdued present. Subdued in the sense,
Absolutely.
what is
Yeah.
subdued? The hindrances are subdued. The conditions for anusayas, latent tendencies to arise is subdued. When
Yeah.
that is subdued, all of these frivolous thoughts, negativity, ayonso mansikara, all of that will die away. Another approach, now this is, you can see whatever approach that is spoken, whatever approach that is taught, or whatever approach that is discussed, there can be an approach led by wisdom. There can be an approach led by virya, effort. There can be an approach led by shraddha. There can be an approach led by samadhi. Hmm? In this way, there can be um, chanda, chitta, virya, uh,
Famous.
vimansa. There can be four approaches, isn't it?
Yeah.
There can be four approaches.
Satya
Now,
video.
in those pro approaches, Sujata, now this is one approach. Now, whilst we say, see the reality of a Dhamma and let that hindrance sort of um, dwindle away or weaken itself and disappear, then another way could be another method of approaching, let us say, from the Shraddha aspect, from the faith aspect of things, would be to give Kusala more energy in order to dispel the darkness of Akusala.
Mm.
That could also be a technique, isn't it? That could also be a technique. However, these techniques often one finds that these techniques have to align, or the Buddha rather talked about these techniques to align with the personality and persona that one has, the temperament that one has.
Yes.
So, in this way, we find we listen to these teachings, we enrich ourselves with the teachings, and then you individually you find your way discussing whenever appropriate and necessary and finding our way forward. But the most important part of this journey is that the person who is walking on it wants to reach the final destination or make legway in the destination. Just like in any pilgrimage, those long drawn sort of treks or pilgrimages that are there, you could very well sort of stop midway and decide not to move forward. You could lose your way, you could lose sight of where you want to reach. As
Yeah.
long as you could maintain effort into the practice, and then that effort would also mean trying to, whenever possible and whenever present, in order to be
Mm,
with the Dhamma, in with insight, with knowledge and knowing, seeing and knowing of reality as it is. There, you nurture these good aspects of the faculties more and more. Hmm.
mm. Yes, ma'am.
Then the mind, because of the respect that the mind has towards the mind itself, because the hindrances are not as poignant as
Mm.
before. Then,
Yes.
when you sit for meditation, you will ultimately come into a place where the mind simply accepts and gives in to what is being done at the moment. Your mind becomes, we shouldn't say so, but almost as if finally the ship is under your control.
Mm,
But
mm.
yeah, because the mind is not restless.
Yes.
The mind has no issue being with one object because the mind is able to
Mm,
accept. The mind has nowhere to run to at this moment because it is present.
mm,
Because it is present. So, Sujata, it is a journey. You're making or taking
mm.
steps forward, and that is what is most important.
Sadhu, sadhu. Really. I'm so grateful. I don't know to you, Bante. That's all I can say.
Oh,
I'll
Sujata.
try my best with your guidance.
All right, Sujata. Now,
Mm.
what about I would try to like to bring the conversation towards the elements, the dhatus, to hear your experiences and your troubles with regards to experiencing Oh Damayanti.
Bante, thank you for that meditation. It went well, but uh, observing cohesion was my difficult part,
Okay,
not the other elements out of the 12.
okay. How did you try?
I tried to go from the outside of the body to the inside, not like the heat, like things are cold. It's one thing. Cohesion is kind of a bit difficult because from the outside to inside my body, I was trying to do it like that, like
Okay,
the skin and then the muscles. I don't think it is as smooth as other things because it's not only it is a quality, but the quality is because of other things. So I
sure,
think that's how I found it very
sure.
difficult.
So, Damayanti, maybe the approach of the other way, not outside to inside, but inside to outside, maybe. Right. Now, for example, when you're breathing, the contraction of the diaphragm or the lung or the ribs that you might feel, huh? The
Mm.
chest area, a papuiti ne thadagatiya. Hmm? When you're rubbing against, as you're breathing, and because of the clothing that you might be wearing, you may be able to feel the tension across this area with the expansion and contraction. There, Damayanti, you could see that that contraction or that pressure that you might be feeling is in a cohesive nature. Hmm? Is in a cohesive
Yes.
nature. Now, let us say your legs are, your knees are bent. Hmm? You're sitting in a certain way. Now, those pressure points, even with whatever other pressures that you feel, let us say your foot is on the sole of your feet, are placed upon the ground. And as they are placed across the ground, and you divert your attention to feeling the sensation, or rather that hardness there, that hardness exists with a certain sense of cohesion near that.
Yes.
That hardness exists with a certain sense of cohesion there, because
Mhm.
that hardness is not shifting or moving with the condition of the flow coming into contact with the soles of the feet. You
Mhm.
have that cohesive nature on display there for you. Hmm? So,
Yes.
for example, Damayanti, you could also take the tongue. Now, this muscle in your mouth, if you advert the mind to the top, the bottom, the left, the right sides of the tongue, you will feel like it is this sort of muscle, isn't it, that is in your mouth, and you can feel that it is cohesively there.
Yeah, yeah, yes,
Cohesively,
yes.
right? That is cohesion there you can take. Hmm? Or you can see, for example, when your tongue is brushed against or is resting against the palate, or even touching
Mhm.
against the teeth, and then the lips and this outer skin layer which covers the mouth, the teeth,
Mhm.
those sensations. Now see that sensation there. Um, what do you call this part? This skin? This
Mhm.
this skin that overlaps, is there a word for it? Let's call it the skin of the mouth. All right. So this skin, the sensation of the teeth, there you will see cohesion across all the teeth.
Mhm.
Cohesion.
Yeah, I understand now. Yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Now,
but
for example, the eyelids when it's closed, and then even if you move, you feel like a watery, but still it is round. There is
Mhm.
cohesion. Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, when you're breathing this column of air, cohesion is there with the column
yeah,
of air. It is incredibly insightful that as you go through the different aspects of the 12 parts um, of the element meditation, which we have gone through before, but I think because we came into a certain discussion over the necessity of samadhi and the quality of focus, we decided silently to go back to Anapanasati, focus on that, and try to attempt to mold our way forward in that manner. So we are trying again. We are trying again. Hmm?
yes.
And
Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
thank you, Damayanti. Now, if you remember if you remember the piece of teachings, now there are a couple of approaches to the way that one could see the 12 elements. I wish I got more questions. However, I must also accept no. So I am accepting that there are no questions. So I will try to sort of prod and push you forward. uh, so if you remember the 12 bits, the partitions, the with hardness, cohesion, all of those 12 that we've gone through, the technique for those to cultivate it through the Vipassana itself is to one, remember the sequence, two, quite much like what you do for your Buddhanusati, hmm, with the Itibiso Bhagava Arahan, and I do hope and I do know that some of you have read, because from the time that we started the Buddhanusati practice, that you have taken time to learn more about those attributes as well, right? To enrich your knowledge and knowing of what, for example, Itibiso is, Bhagava is, Arahan is. Uh, I know that some of you have also read Renukan Chandavimla Thero's books on Buddhanusati, which are fabulous books written by the great master Chandavimla Thero. Just so, when you say Bhagava should always carry that depth of what or why we refer to the Buddha as Bhagava. Just so, when you remember the sequence of Buddhanusati, I'm sorry, of the 12-fold technique of elements, and then repeatedly going over the elements, repeatedly going over the elements again and again, again and again. Hardness, roughness, heaviness, softness, smoothness, lightness, flowing, cohesion, heat, coldness. In this manner, going over it, becoming fluent with these observations as and when you say coldness, the mind is able to go to coldness. Now, that also sounds like a mind that is very much well trained, neither. Right? A mind that is very much well trained. For a mind to be that well trained, the mind, for example, cannot be restless. Hmm. The mind cannot be restless. The mind shouldn't have doubt arising, vichikiccha, skeptical doubt. Skeptical doubt might mean now, for example, when we are discussing this, you might be doubting with regard to the, am I able to do this, make a karana pula, that sort of doubt. Now remember, those are moha mula chittas, isn't it, everyone? Moha mula chittas. Moha mula chittas are proliferated because of lobha and dosa that have arisen before. Lobha and dosa that has arisen before, not at that time. Because when, for example, restlessness occurs, there is no hatred, no. There is no lobha as well. When the restlessness appears, then there is only moha. Remember that moha becomes, or sort of becomes, a frequent visitor to the mind, a frequent arising in the mind when there is regular arising of lobha and dosa. When that falls, everyone, even if you don't meditate often, when you, with volition, when you reduce your reactions with lobha and dosa, with volition, with determination, when you reduce, you will experience that the mind will start doing what you say. It is a natural process. You can test it out. Most welcome to. The mind will start doing what you say. This might come out. I hope it doesn't. As if sort of trying to control and try to sort of be, have self. No, this is not about that. This is where when there is volition, intention that arises, that intention that arises is long-lived, not short-lived in terms of, for example, the kusala, right? You want to do a kusala, but that kusala easily comes to harm in your mind. Then there are times kusala arises, wholesome arises, and when that wholesome is powerful, whatever encumbrances that may arise, still the wholesome, it's continued. You don't just abandon it. You don't just abandon it. That is where, when that happens, that is where restlessness arises. When restlessness arises, you are doing something. You become restless. And then, because how does that restlessness there arise? Because there is the lack of commitment that arises from the mind towards the object. It is all down to the hindrances. If to your efforts, when the mind now most of our lives because of, let us say, the way that we have molded it, and the positions of life that you are currently in. um, there are not a lot of, let us say, physical wrongdoing that may happen. You might feel as if, compared to when you were working and doing all of that or involved with the world so deeply, there are those actions may have been so much more. But now those times have gone by, and you might be in different circumstances, or some of you might already still be going through it, but still trying your level best with the Dhamma to deal with things professionally and to focus on your goal and cultivating Yonismansikara and all of that. When the power of our attention, our awareness grows naturally, here we have to, whilst we might not have a lot of physical conditioning that we have to correct, we have to always be sort of careful on the grounds of the mind. Remember, it is like a gateway protected with security. You are aware, heedful. hmm? You are not careless in protecting the most important thing that you have, isn't it? Now, even if you do have, let us say, precious gems and jewelry and all of that, if it is very precious, you might not even keep it at home. You will go and put it in a safe or a locker. You'll put it away somewhere. If you have your title deeds and documents, all of those things, where do you keep them? You keep them somewhere that, you hide it away, you put it away because you don't need to keep it out for security, isn't it? In order to protect it. Now, now that is your title deeds and all of that. What about your mind? Huh? The key to your mind we have left with every Tom, Dick, and Harry. It is almost as if almost as if having a lemonade stand on the road and distributing keys to everyone who has entry, free entry into this mind, isn't it? That's how it feels sometimes, because it seems as if anyone who comes into our scope of attention or our scope of world of interaction is able to sort of affect the mind. Mhm. This is where the mind is guarded, where the Buddha always says, isn't it? Ananda, one should protect the mind. Protect the mind from hindrances, not allowing the slightest of ill to arise. To arise. In that manner, we purify our intention to keep the mind upon one object, to break and transgress mundane view and see supramundane view, sammaditthi, lokotara sammaditthi. Because when you observe, for example, let us say cohesion, just like when Damayanti asked, it is, we always cohesion water element. We have to focus on water, but that water element is present where you find the fire element, the earth element, the wind element, isn't it? That water cohesion can be even be seen in the column of air. The heat element can be seen everywhere. Within that heat element, you can also see the coldness. You can see the vibrant, interconnected nature of all of these conditions, Sankata Dhammas. They are Sankata, and you see it as a network because they are conditions, they themselves, and they are themselves conditions onto others. Hmm? They are conditions onto others. Fire, the warmth is the fire element. The way warmth flows is the water element. Fire is the Fire element, warmth, heat is the fire element. If fire is to maintain in a certain position, it is supporting the wind element. Neither. It is supporting the wind element. Hmm? If you are seeing, for example, let us say you are experiencing warmth or a heat traveling throughout the shoulders, because the shoulders are often a position that we experience sensations of this sort. And the pain or the, let us say, the heat or the contraction, the hardness. Here, now the pain is not seen as pain. Now you see it for what it is, isn't it? So if it is contraction and that pressure coming into one another, sort of almost as if pressing on one spot, then what you would see there is the hardness. Mm? The hardness, if it seems like it is sort of like a ton of bricks sort of on a certain position of your body, right? Let us say on top of the shoulders here, then that's heaviness that you're feeling. So now it is not pain. You're not going and getting stuck in the just the Vedana. You're seeing the Dhatu Manasikara here. Hence, you're seeing what that particular element is, and that element is also impermanent, suffering, non-self. Hence, cultivating this sense of resilience, where this body is going through these experiences, you're experiencing these elements and its manifestations across the body. However, the mind is not wavering. The mind is not wavering. Hmm? May you have any questions to ask? Deepani, may Hemamali, Shiroma, Manisha, do you all have no questions whatsoever?
Bhante,
Oh, Damsiri.
um, how important that you should follow the sequence you have given, the 12 sequence. It's always important, or when it is, when you have done some certain level, you can ignore the sequence. And what's your opinion about it,
Okay,
actually?
okay. Damsiri, this comes down to Vitarka. Right, the sequence is present. Now there
Yeah.
are, I have given two sequences. I have given Pauk sequence, I have given the Buddha sequence. Right? What Pauk says is use Pauk sequence for ease of reflection. And then when you're comfortable with it, go on to the Buddha sequence, which starts from hardness, the earth element, then the fire, the wind, the water. Right?
Okay, okay.
Now, why the Buddha tells you, the Buddha says, follow word to word according to this. Don't do what you want. Why that is, Damsiri? Right? Of course, not trying to sort of explain on the Buddha's Sabbandhita Jnana, but when you have to make that decision, Damsiri, right? When
Right.
you have to make that decision, that is another decision that you have to make, another vitarka that you have to go through. Hence, another different manodwarika viti, maybe a few or a couple or more than a couple, to be able to make that decision, hence distracting you. That is why they say follow the sequence. Ultimately, whatever teacher will point you, if you do this, you will come to, you have to end up at seeing the Buddha sequence.
Oh, I see.
පාඨවි ආපෝ තේජෝ වායෝ ඒක පාඨ ඒක reminisce කරන්න. Huh?
Right, right, right.
Yeah. Then because when you are so familiar, then what will happen is it says now if it is Shuddha Vipassana, without the Samatha aspect, the technique requires the meditator to go over, become so familiar with the sequence such that from hardness going on to the end with the Buddha sequence, such that the meditator, in going through the words, is able to contemplate freely, at will, that respective element.
Okay. Yeah.
That whole sequence, so 12 pieces of contemplation of 12 relevant dhammas to be contemplated such with such familiarity that you are able to do it at least 3 times in a minute.
Okay.
ඒ කියන්නේ ඒ කියන්නේ hardness, roughness, heaviness, softness, smoothness, lightness, flowing, cohesion, heat, coldness, supporting, pushing, hardness, roughness, heaviness. But again and again, again and again, just like what you do with the Itibiso Bhagava Arhan
Oh,
Samma
I
Buddho
see.
Vijja Channa Sampanno Sugato Lokavidu, right? It stays, but here the contemplation, this is one who does not have jhana. Again and again, again and again, the mind adverts to the 12 going in through the sequence.
Yeah.
Uh, and then from there, the Vipassana Samadhi will arise.
Okay.
The Vipassana Samadhi will arise so that you are able to go
Yeah.
through that in that manner.
Thank you, Bante. Thank you.
May iPad 4.
And that's me. I'm on my iPad because my computer was giving me problems. I'm dealing with it.
Okay.
No, the question I want to ask is what Damasari asked, whether you follow, actually in a slightly bit different, but it is the same thing mainly, because now what was given earth, water, fire, wind, those 12 in the order, that was outside of the Buddha's
Oh,
method. But
that was the
the way
Buddhas.
Buddha's method, but the method was where what you took us through, the pushing, hardness,
Yeah.
roughness, heaviness, supporting, softness, smoothness, like that, ending up with the heat and then the cohesive element. So now that's two methods. One that you said, which is spark self, but no, sometimes when you're doing and you explain why, because that's another decision that you don't have to make and to make it so fluently to go through. But sometimes what happens is now when you're going through the method that you were doing, and I understood the explanation to Dharma Siddhi, and thank you for that. But sometimes when you're doing now, for example, today I'm in a room where the heating is not very good.
Yeah.
So I have put a flow heater which starts and then it cuts off and starts and goes. So it's not consistently one temperature. When it realizes that
Yes,
it's
yes.
hot, it comes
Okay.
off. So
Yeah.
as a result, that sensation and that sound that comes in, right? But sound because these are looking at sound, but that sensation of heat and cold comes in because that is what I'm experiencing. Like what Sudhata said, the window was open and that came in. So now, in addition to these two methods, sometimes your mind is more comfortable feeling the softness or feeling the roughness of one of these things. Uh, but when you are practicing either a guided meditation or the Buddha's method, you put aside what the mind is looking and just observing, and you bring some element of control in it to follow either of these methods that you're following. Am I right, Bante? Or
Well, okay. Let me deal.
yeah.
Now let us think about an occasion where may where one is may swimming in the sea, right?
Yes.
They've gone on one of these boat trips out to a small beach, and they're swimming. And then what is wise still? Is it wise to swim far from the boat, or is it wise to swim near the boat where the captain and all of them are?
To be near the boat, because if you get into difficult, there's somebody help, some support always there.
There is support always there.
Yeah.
Just so the Buddha says, now in this path, right, to always be anchored by, in this case, the Buddha Dhamma Sangha, right? Of course, the foremost goes on to anchoring is done by the Buddha's teaching, the Buddha Dhamma, right? The
Yes.
Buddha Dhamma.
Yes,
Now,
Bante.
because the Buddha Dhamma, now this Buddha Dhamma takes us from the Sammuti worldview or a mundane worldview into the Lokottara, the supramundane space. Now, in that anchoring now, in the initial moments of meditation, Whilst the body may experience certain conditions which are present in the room, that is true, that is fine. But as the mind goes deeper into oneself, then those external conditions we ignore and focus upon the mind and its conditions of this moment. That is why, that is why we do not allow the mind to be so lax, sort of like someone, the captain of the ship is not going to allow the passenger to get into the sea in the night. Huh? They cannot get into the sea in the night. The captain is going to allow it because it's dangerous. In the same manner, when the mind is aloof, meaning the mind has leeway to focus or in whatever way that it wishes. Right? Now, for example, the Buddhists or in the Buddha Dhamma, we have four sannyas. Which is anicca, dukkha, anatma, asubha. Now, if we are to, for example, tell the meditators, right, you figure out what your sanya is, right? You figure out, or you figure out what your wholesome sanya is. Just imagine the whole mental process that one would go through and then sort of arrive at observing something that might be quite shallow. Hence, we have these demarcations by the omniscient, right? Where the mind does not need to put in effort into more thinking, but into getting rid of, isn't it? But to get rid of. It is in aid of that process that we don't let the mind go aloof and do its own thing. You have to stay close to where you are guarded and protected.
So in a way, Bhante, this is like the balancing. So there's some degree of control because otherwise you might just, break through and break down and just go.
What is a better word now? What is a better word?
And control.
Word control.
Control, yeah.
Balance.
A balance.
Balance.
Balance. Yes. So you are in balance because there's always that if one side gets heavy, the other side goes up. So if you just let it be without some restriction or some control, you can easily. It's like that. The example you
said. Some discipline as well, isn't it?
Yes.
Now, if it is the fourfold technique, the discipline is Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. If it is the 12-fold technique, the discipline is the 12-fold. With hardness onto the pushing.
Yeah. Thank you, Bhante. That's very clear. And the other thing that when you were, even I found, like Damayanti said, that cohesion was one that I found more difficult. And I was very grateful that with each one, you exactly mentioned like what you taught us before, how to feel it, running the tongue on the teeth. That was useful because I hadn't done this meditation for a long while. So you telling that made it so much more easy. And thank you for that. But that cohesion I found different. And I remember it was saying, that to remember about the cohesive nature, like the water inside the balloon is kept intact by that skin, or also mentioning that like the blood that is flowing is kept inside intact by the skin. But the thing that I found easier than that was because they also it's like gravity. If not for gravity, all the bits will fall apart, but it's cohesively kept. So I think in that same note, it also said it's like the force of gravity that keeps the body attached to the earth. So I found that for me to think of cohesiveness, that was a way that I managed to do it because I found like Damayanti, that was a difficult one to do. So I thought if you have one method of sort of teaching.
And Dil, as because with your biology knowledge, right? When you think about the muscles in the body and how the traction of the muscle systems are found within the body, you will find individually each part of that muscle contraction or muscle system that you will have, you will feel cohesion independently all across. Even in that manner, because මේක නිකන් අර නිකන් අල්ලගෙන එකට අල්ලගෙන isn't it?
Yeah, because that's right. But because every muscle has like a fascia, like a thin tissue that keeps it in place. So it's like, the blood actually is not kept by the skin, though blood is kept by the blood vessels, which are also a form of very fine tissue. So when you put it like that, it becomes very clear, because we have actually seen the bodies and seen that in at operations and corpses and things. And thank you, Bhante. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that is a sign, and owing on that sign, we allow the mind to flourish or go through that process.
Right.
මේක අර ඩිල් මේ ඔක්කොම කතා අපි කතා කරන්නේ examples and all of that is only to get that initial sort of sign.
Right. Nimitta. Thank
After you touch the essence of what that's nature pushing or supporting is, then that nature is found beyond the vessels and the arteries and all of that in its pristine nature with each and every kalapa that is present with across the body. So there is no difficulty whatsoever. What we need to sort of shed is this sort of layer of belief.
you.
Also, if I may direct everyone's attention to this layer of belief that sort of murks the air around us, if I may say it in that way. Because this sense of belief, because we are with the Samadhi world again and again, we are observing from the knowledge we have of the mundane world, which is of course true. But always remember, this is not the end, the finite there.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
Dhamma is far more. So this
Yeah.
is just a sign to
Yeah.
allow for entry forward.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yes, Bhante, thank you. Because it is still complex. It had go finer to the the where you can't break it down anymore. Thank you, Bhante. That
Alright.
was beautiful. Thank you, Sadhu, Sadhu, Sadhu.
All right, everyone. Do we have any more questions? Hmm? Now, now, when we have the Anapanasati, which is a technique that you have to continue, everyone. And in that Anapanasati, you could maybe even make a timetable for yourself, or rather, where you journal and jot down your meditation experiences each day, where you make sure that you do sit down or do your walking meditation each day while supporting both, now let us say, the Anapanasati, the Dhatu Manasikara, mm, on days that allow both of these things to balance, to bring balance to one another as well, isn't it? You see the impermanence of the breath, you see the impermanence of the body through the Dhatu Manasikara. Both of these things, now, when you approach it as, let us say, when you approach it as, I am a Vedana Vipassana meditator. I am, I only use Anapanasati. මේ again දෘෂ්ටි නේද? again දෘෂ්ටි. දැන් ඕක කඩලා අපි මේක ක්‍රමයක්, ක්‍රමවේදයක්. This is a method, a methodology, a system, discipline, a training. And that training inspires the other training as well. So letting go in Anapanasati, Anicca Dukkha Anatma, in the Anicca Dukkha Anatma Asubha, in Anapanasati breathing meditation technique inspires Anicca Dukkha Anatma Asubha in the Dhatu Manasikara. Hare? In the Dhatu Manasikara. When the meditator learns with practice, of course, you working with yourself, undergoing that, and seeing how one could inspire and support the other. Hmm? And allowing your weekly schedule of meditation to progress and change positive towards a positive direction, a good direction with balance, with commitment, with effort that is made on every single day, not because you have to, because you absolutely want to. Not because you have to, because you absolutely want to. Just as you may enjoy certain particular parts of your day for what you do. or through your week. Just so this also being one of those moments where you absolutely rejoice and enjoy the fact that this time that you're spending in a worthwhile investment for the samsara, for the shortening, for the getting rid of evil or bad results or whatnot, to get rid of. When the samadhi improves, you will realize this is for the abandoning of the whole of samsara, because every corner of samsara that one sees for truly what it is, everything comes to an end. Everything comes to an end. So the high Brahmas in the high Deva realms comes to may also fall into the lower. People with good, strong minds and very resilient forms of personalities, you will see sometimes these people too crumbling and falling from their high thrones, and then paupers that you would see, uh, who 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 might not, who might be far from where we are, coming into strength, into power, from very poor states of mind into brilliant, radiant states of mind. All of this is change. Nothing is impermanent, in a way that, not to sort of repeat on what we have been hearing again and again and again, but when you see the Dhamma for what it truly is, not, it is nothing good or bad, but nothing remains the same. It's not good or nothing remains the same. Because you could say nothing remains the same in a good way. To someone who's going through some sort of adversity in life, you say, don't worry, it'll pass, hoping that this passing is going to bring them solace. Then, when one is going through uh, another experience, we might also say a positive experience or whatnot, again, we might say. But now, see, in both those instances, one we are saying to turn a good into a bad or bad into a good. We say nothing is impermanent, but both of these are coming through ditti. Neither. දෙපැත්තෙන්ම එන්නේ දෘෂ්ටිය. දෙපැත්තෙම එන්නේ යම්කිසි a certain view, to turn a good thing into, to turn a unliked experience, a disliked experience into something that is more desirable, or to turn another instance which is undesirable at this moment desirable, to change that circumstance. That too will change. The desirable will also change. Just like the Mahabrahmas fall into the lower realms. Not for good or bad, not because we want this or this is the desired position to be in. There is no desired position to be in. Because that position too changes. It doesn't change because of you, because it's me, or because it's you. It changes because that is what it is. It's nothing to do with you or me. It changes. That is universal reality. Viparinama dukkha. Viparinama dukkha. So, keeping this in mind, see how we can further enhance our practice forward. Now, bringing in the Dhatu Manasikara and the Anapana Sati to fuel one another in our progress forward. Okay. Yes, Dil, you want to?
No, just suddenly remember this Buddha's method and Pausada's method, that Anupubbato is the Buddha's structure. The word Anupubbato, that is the Buddha's method.
Yes.
I mean, that's right. And
Anupubbato
Pubbato.
කියලා කියන්නේ Dil. Pubbha is the way that it was first said. Anupubbato, according to the way that it was first said. First said by who? The Buddha.
Right.
So Anupubbato is why we come back to the Buddha's method.
Right. Right. Yeah, thank you. That's one. And the other thing I remembered, when we're talking about you can be in this higher Brahma race and you can fall right down, and sometimes people who are so low can rise. I remember when in the Bodhi Marga session, when Ron and Paul were doing it this last Friday, they mentioned about Metta Bhavana, and in this Velama Sutta from the Anguttara Nikaya, which Ron was describing to us, he actually mentioned that like giving dana is not whether you give broken rice or not, but the intention of the Chetana of the person. But also when it went up to like from a person who has Sammaditi going right up to Samma Sambuddha, going through all the stages, so on. But he also mentioned that at the end of it, that it is that reflection of anicca, that the final stage. And I was thinking, I went to write up, you can give asking to Samma Sambuddha with whole Rahatan once in a temple, that one of that you have built, that's very high. But finally, that the person who is giving is constantly reflecting on the impermanence of things, because through that you see the suffering and then you see the non-self. That is like the highest merit you can get in any dana you can get. So I remember you bringing this immediate jota. That's what that veil, and this Velama was actually, because he said, when I'm telling this story, he was telling this to Anathapindika because he had given a dana, and he had given a really good dana to the Buddha, and the Buddha said, do you always give dana like this? And he said, I don't give always, but every day I give a dana with broken rice and things to all the people who need food around where he lives. And he said, because I give such a lowly dana, I probably won't get as much merit as like when I give to the Buddha, which is like the most excellent dana. And the Buddha said, no, it doesn't depend on what you give, but this Chetana. And then when he raised up, he was saying, finally, it went up to the person. If you're reflecting constantly on anicca, so powerful is this reflection of the impermanence, the rising and the falling, and this, the knowledge that you get, that you always talk of the fourth knowledge. It is so important, is Udyabhaya, and to see that in everything that you are mentioning, whatever you do. So when you hear from different things, it sort of clicks into your mind, this is what they are saying, kind of thing, and get focused. Thank you, Bante.
Thank you. Hare, and then I will leave all of you with that.
Bante,
Devika.
Can you please post this meditation session?
Sure, I will do.
Okay.
Hare. Okomlata, I'm wishing you all the very best with your practice, and I will leave you for today, everyone. Okomlata, Therwan Saranai.
Therwan Saranai, Bante.